Hello, my name is Nick, co-host of the Cynical Optimists podcast. Before you start describing me as a vacant moron in the comments, I should probably mention that I'm making this video because I lost a bet on a technicality. I'm gonna. How about a small wager, Phil? If I think it will get released, if there's another director's cut of Justice League coming to fruition, then you have to wear a T-shirt that says "I love Justice League," in brackets 2017.
Okay. But this seems like a bit of a one-sided bet because unless we put a time frame on this, you can never lose the bet. Should we say by the end of 2021?
Really? Okay, I was going to say 2020. I reckon we'll have one.
Okay, 2020.
Oh, why did I do that?
So what will you do? You will make it doesn't have to be very complicated, but it's just a talk to camera review where you talk about everything you love about Justice League as it currently is, and you argue it for it to be. You argue why it's one of the greatest films of all time.
A bet is a bet, so let's get the polish out and look at the turd that is 2017's theatrical cut of Justice League. Come together right now. Come together. Credit where credit's due, the editors on this movie do a good job. It's a miracle this movie is even comprehensible after the rewrites in response to BVS, the change in directors, the reshoots, and the other behind-the-scenes drama. This movie has a traditional totter of three-act structure similar to Joss Whedon's previous superhero movie, The Avengers. A villain comes to Earth outgunning our established mighty individuals. They team up but find it difficult working with each other and promptly fall apart. Then in the final act they learn to trust each other, overcome their difficulties and defeat evil. Bam! It's a film. You can follow the plot from start to finish. Batman v Superman is kinda convoluted in comparison, which does make for a more memorable film in parts. But watching it for the first time in the cinema, it's far easier to get lost watching it. And that's the thing, these films are supposed to be blockbusters. It's a bombastic, popcorn-munching flick. You're probably not going into something called Batman vs Superman or Justice League to find profound questions and answers. Comic books and arguably TV shows are given the time and pacing to delve into each and every storyline whilst being entertaining. You couldn't have a movie take an hour off in the middle of the action to explore a character's backstory like you can with an individual issue or an individual episode. Zack Snyder is a visionary director, I will admit that, but he does have a habit of trying to include every single story beat from the source material in his films. And you know what? The fact that his Justice League is now a mini-series in 4 parts is great. I really think so. It should give him the time and the pacing he needs to explore every one of his plot threads sufficiently. I'm excited to see the Snyder Cut. But generally, for a theatrical adaptation, the source material needs rewriting to fit. That's why I'd argue Avengers 3 and 4 worked so well. They didn't just squeeze the Infinity Gauntlet into one 2.5 hour movie. They reworked the material completely, cutting plots that would otherwise break the flow of the films. Ice breath. Ice breath. Okay. Don't shoot just yet. I'm not saying every joke works in this movie.
Like brunch. Like, what is brunch?
But I think levity is a hugely important part of telling a story. The linchpin of the DCEU, Man of Steel, took a lot of inspiration from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, with Nolan even having a hand in the story. But where the DCEU took visual inspiration from the dark and gritty tone of the Dark Knight films, I think they forgot just how funny the scripts were at times. We cared about Bruce and Alfred and Lucius and Rachel and even the villains because they acted like real human beings. They made witty remarks and smiled and spoke like normal people.
Don't worry, Master Wayne. Takes a little time to get back in the swing of things.
Again, I quite admire the melodrama of Batman v Superman, but fuck me, I have never heard a real person talk like this.
Because God is tribal. God takes sides. No man in the sky intervened when I was a boy to deliver me from Daddy's fist and abominations. I figured out way back. If God is all-powerful, he cannot be all good.
And I know that is a pretty extreme example, and yes, Justice League does go slightly too far the other way at times during serious moments, but what do you want? A bet's still a bet. Thank you for listening to me slowly losing my mind defending this frankly terrible movie. You can find the Cynical Optimists on your favourite podcast app, subscribe to this channel and leave a like. Follow us on Twitter at HollowProjectors, and you can find me at Beggars Cannon on Twitter. Bye!